Hi everyone, Ryan here from Fight Game Analysis, and today we are going to be talking about the upcoming fight between Derrick Lewis and Chris Daukaus. But before we jump into that, if you enjoy the content, please go ahead and click on the like button and also subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate your support. Alright, so we got a big fight coming up Saturday night, main event, Derrick Lewis versus Chris Daukaus. This is a big fight, man. I'm really looking forward to this one. People who follow this channel know that I'm a big fan of both men. Loved Derrick Lewis for a long time. Personally, I don't understand how you could be a fight fan and not like this guy. On the one hand, he's coming in there, and every single time, you know what he's trying to bring to the table. He's trying to come out there and land that big right hand and tear guys' heads off. He's got the super entertaining pre-fight interviews, super entertaining post-fight interviews. You jump on his Instagram. The man's got a good sense of humor. He's pretty entertaining. He's pretty funny. And then on the other hand, you got Chris Daukaus, relative newcomer. Had like 4 or 5 fights in the UFC. Loves coming out there and doing his work early. Everything other than his last fight has been a first-round stoppage. Just aggressive, highly talented. How can you not like what both of these guys bring to the table? So I'm really looking forward to this one. Now first, I'll talk a little bit about Derrick Lewis, the Black Beast. Man, so he's a veteran now. He's a veteran. It's funny, when you watch guys come into the game, they come onto the big stage, you see their flaws a little bit, you see when they're a little bit nervous and how their game's still developing, and then as they grow throughout their fights. It's always satisfying to see something like that, I guess. That'd be a good word for it. It's enjoyable to watch a man progress in his skills, progress in his career, continue to get better and try and master his craft. And in a way, that's what we've seen with Derrick Lewis. Don't want to get ahead of myself here. In a way. Like I remember when he first came into the game, for example, his cardio was horrible. His cardio was absolutely horrible. Never threw any kicks, none of that stuff. He was really one-dimensional at that point. But he was able to make that one dimension work against the vast majority of people. So he just continued to ride that. Now, going into that fight with DC, going into that fight with Daniel Cormier, which again, just as a side note, an example of how hilarious the man is, talking about how he's mad at him for the Popeye's chicken remarks. But going into that fight was when he really started to step up his training a little bit, really started to take it a little bit more seriously. You saw him out there running sprints and in the ramps, parking garages and things like that, just really trying to get it better. Obviously, that didn't change the outcome. Daniel Cormier is a master wrestler. He was able to go in there and just dominate him, right? We saw that. But his mindset changed. It was as though he realized, dude, if I want to be the best in the world, if I want to be able to take this to the absolute highest level, I'm going to have to do something that I'm currently not doing. First thing he had to work on was his cardio, okay? Then he started to add in some kicks and stuff still. He's not great with the kicks. This isn't Stephen Thompson out here. But he started to add them in, started to add in a little bit more variety. Unfortunately, I feel like that's kind of where he stopped. Unfortunately, I feel like there's a lot of his game left. Or there's a lot more potential in his game. There's a lot more that he could do, and it's just things that he doesn't move forward with. Now, we know he's not going to go in there and go for any takedowns, right? The man's not a wrestler. That's not what we're going to see him do. Is that because of the back issues he's had? Is it just because he's never a wrestler and he wants to stay with the striking, fell in love with the power? I'm not exactly sure. Haven't talked to him, not in his camp, don't know about those things. All I know is you don't have to worry about the wrestling when you're facing Derrick Lewis. Defensive wrestling. Honestly, it's not that great. He's a beast, though, as the name indicates. The man is incredibly strong. And a lot of times he's just able to muscle his way out of bad spots. People take him down. He just muscles his way up. People get him up against the cage. They got him in on a single leg, got their hands clasped behind him. He muscles his way out of that. Does not use good techniques. Uses raw horsepower, gets himself through those bad spots. Say all that to pinpoint that when we're talking about Derrick Lewis, we're talking about a man who's striking. That's number one. Now, is he going to work behind the jab? Is he going to throw left hooks? Does he have great footwork? He's able to get in and out. He's got this explosiveness where he can close the distance. No, none of those things. Derrick Lewis has a big right hand. It's huge. Hits you with it one time, he can get you out of there. Carries the power late. We've seen him get dominated and all of a sudden smash guys in the closing seconds of a fight to come out with the victory. We've seen these things. We know what he brings to the table. We saw how he handled striking against Junior Dos Santos, and we saw how he handled striking from Ciryl Gane. He's got problems with speed. I mean, Ciryl Gane, he got completely outclassed by Ciryl Gane in his last fight. Because not only does he have problems with hand speed, he's got problems with foot speed. So Derrick Lewis wants to time you. You're coming in, you're doing your thing, you're making your moves. He's waiting. You want to come in for a strike, you want to come in for a shot, doesn't matter. He's waiting. He doesn't mind ceding ground a little bit. Back up. Try to kind of keep a little bit of a good distance so he can gauge when you're coming in. And then he just wants to hit you with the big shot. That's his thing, man. He wants to time you when you're coming in. And he wants to land that big right hand. Now, he can shoot it straight. He can go over the top. We saw against Curtis Blades coming in for the shot that he can go with an uppercut. Can tear your head off any which way he wants to with it. But that's his game. That's what he does. And if you're faster than him, if you're like Ciryl Gane, you can tear up his legs. You can use feints and move in and out quickly. You can work with the jab. You're going to be able to completely confuse him. He just didn't know how to handle what Gane brought to the table between the hand speed, the foot speed, the variety of the techniques. We saw that he wasn't able to handle Junior Dos Santos. Junior Dos Santos is known for his boxing, known for having fast hands. I get it. That was some fights ago. Right, but bringing it up because it's a loss, bringing it up because it appears to be a trend. Now, standing across from him, we got Chris Daukaus. A little bit younger, 32. Derrick Lewis is 36. From the city of Philadelphia. Now, why does that matter? Everybody's got to be from somewhere, right? It's because Philadelphia, back in you go to the 70s and the 80s, phenomenal city for boxing. Even the 60s, now that I think about it, some absolute monsters used to come out of Philadelphia. That was the type of place that had so many good gyms that if you made it out of there and you made it onto a national stage and you said that you were from Philadelphia, people automatically knew that your talent level was at a certain point. Automatically, 100%, because you're not going to be able to make it out of those gyms out of there. There's too many killers in there. You go into those gyms, you're just going to get smashed. You're never going to make it out to the national stage. You're never going to be somebody that anybody knows if you aren't even the best guy in your gym. So when you come out of Philadelphia, it meant something. So Chris Daukaus, black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but trains in the boxing gyms in Philadelphia. Now, as soon as you look at him, you can tell that he's trained as a classically trained boxer as far as his hands are concerned. He's got really good balance, doesn't get over his shots. He's got a really good jab, doesn't like to work behind it too much. He's got a good left hook, doesn't use it all that often. Somewhat similar to Derrick Lewis, he's all about the right hand. But he uses it way differently. First of all, he's got much faster hands and he'll throw combinations. He can lead with the right hand, he can counter with it. One of the things that I really like, and to me it probably indicates that he's been doing his work with some smaller guys. Right? Well, not just that, I mean his foot speed kind of indicates that too, but it's the fact that when he gets inside. When he gets inside, he'll give guys that left arm sometimes. They'll try and throw like an overhook on it, right? And they're in close and they think they're safe from that left hand because the majority of guys who are big can't fight very well inside. They're too big, they're too long. It's hard to get shots in those small spots. It's not hard for Chris Daukaus, though. He's able to come over the right hand. He's able to come over the top with a chopping right hand really well. He's able to come underneath with shots. He's able to get his work done really well in close. He can get it done at distance. He can lead with it. He can counter with it. Very good striking. Very good striking. And we've seen it in every single fight. It's the same thing. Parker Porter, Nascimento. He's going in there against Olenek, Abdurakhimov. It doesn't matter. Fast hands, combinations, high striking IQ, knows how to control the distance. Not super explosive, but explosive enough. And knows how to get work done at the different ranges. Very dangerous. Now, not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I'll tell you one of the things I don't like. Another thing that to me indicates that he's been working in a boxing gym is his defense, right? He does what I call a passive defense. And what I mean by that is he'll put up a hand to block, right? I mean, he'll block shots this way, maybe turn a little bit with him, but he puts the hand up there. That's his guard. Be a high guard, low, whatever it needs to be. You can see success with that in boxing, okay? It's because you've got bigger gloves. You fight with these 10-ounce gloves. You've got a 10-ounce glove. He's got a 10-ounce glove. So you go up there, you can cover a lot of space on your head, number one. And number two, he's got a bigger glove that he's shooting his shot with. That being said, you can still miss. You can put your glove up here. Guys will get caught in the temple. You know, guys can come behind the glove depending on where you put it. Things can still happen even with the 10-ounce gloves. But man, it is much, much, much harder to block shots like that with little tiny 4-ounce gloves like they're using in MMA. Okay, so there's times when you go back and watch the film that Daukaus will see a shot coming, it's a left hook, and he'll go up to block it as you would traditionally would in a boxing match, and that shot will still land because of the smaller gloves. So I'm not really a big fan of that, but I mean, they're heavyweights, man. It's a little bit different. You don't see heavyweights on there rolling under a lot of shots, slipping a lot of shots, moving around. When you do, you think about guys like Mike Tyson, right? And they stand out because of how fast they are, because of how quick they are, because of the way that they do things that you don't see other heavyweights do. Okay? That's not the way Chris Daukaus fights, and that's fine. But when you're going in there against a guy like Derrick Lewis, you absolutely have to be on your P's and Q's all the time. You can't just say, oh, I'm just going to take a few shots from him as I come in to land mine. The dude hits like a bulldozer, man. You can't say, oh, I'm going to work the legs from the outside. I'm going to land my shots. I'm going to be cautious and move around. I'm going to wait till he gasses out. And then when the power isn't as big, then I'm going to move in and do my good work. I mean, it sounds logical until you remember that Derrick Lewis is knocking people out late. Carries his power late into the fight. True power. I guarantee you Derrick Lewis was born with that power. He didn't just develop it in the gym. Okay? This is really going to be a tough fight in that regard. It's really going to be an interesting fight in that regard. Seeing the way these two styles match up. Chris Daukaus wants to come in, be on the front foot, be aggressive, work behind that right hand, move in and out, use little bits of lateral movement, little bit, not too much, but just enough to give you slight angles. But that plays right into what Derrick Lewis wants. He's going to be sitting there waiting for the counter. Man, he just wants to tear your head off with that big right hand. So the question is, what's it going to look like when these two step in the octagon on Saturday night? Honestly, I think it's going to play out just like we expect. Daukaus is going to come forward, but he's going to be cautious because he has to respect the power that Derrick Lewis brings to the table. And Derrick Lewis is just going to kind of be moving backwards, half step by half step, keeping the distance that he wants, waiting for Daukaus to come in so we can tear his head off with it. But I'm going to go with Chris Daukaus on this one. It's a really tough pick, man. I could absolutely see this going either way. But I'm going to go with him on this one. I think Derrick Lewis has shown that he has a problem with the hand speed. Chris Daukaus has fast hands. I think Daukaus also has a good fight IQ. He doesn't have the resume that Derrick Lewis has. Derrick Lewis has absolutely fought better competition. But Daukaus he's got a good ring IQ, man. You can tell that when he gets out there, he knows how to fight. And deep in his heart, he's a true fighter. Both men are, but my point in saying that is Daukaus isn't going to quit. You're not going to see him go in there and give up when the going gets tough. That's just not who he is. He's also got the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Should they find themselves up against the cage, I feel a little bit more confident with his grappling abilities. Not that I expect it to go there. I think it's going to be a stand-up affair. Both of these men like to get that job done with their hands. And I think that we're able to see him do good work with the right hand. I think we're able to see him figure out a way to avoid the big counter strike from Lewis as he comes in. And then on the inside, I think he's far more capable of getting work done in that close quarters. So let me know what you guys think. Is this going to be a win for Chris Daukaus? This is a big one for him, right? First time he's in a main event, fighting a formal title challenger. Big one. Or does Derrick Lewis turn away the younger fighter, get this name on his resume, and hope to work his way back to another shot at the belt? Let me know what you guys think.